Aslam Osama bin Laden's Al-Qaeda continued. As we recap, during August 1996, Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda's founder, issued a declaration of jihad against the United States and Saudi government. During 1998 February, Mr. Laden, along with his senior associate Ayman al-Zawahiri, endorsed a fatwa, a religious ruling, stating that Muslims should kill Americans, including civilians, anywhere on the world where they can be found. The fatwa was later published in the newspaper Al-Quds Al-Arabi on February 23, 1998. As you know, this is a false fatwa. A fatwa, this religious ruling, is a document that details anyone who has done anything against Islam and the Quran and what we believe upon should be punished. I mean, heinous crime against Muslims. For example, what Salman Rushdie wrote, satanic verses, this was against the Quran, against Islam. It provoked outrage and war. There is a fatwa, a religious ruling can be done there, can be had. If somebody writes the Quran in another language and changes the words, for example, replaces the right path is distinct by the right path, which is on the left hand side, this is also a religious ruling, and a fatwa can be obtained here. You cannot issue a fatwa against a million people. Do not understand what I say. So this is just another one of their foolish attempts to kill people, really. So they succeed, and even they kill themselves. I think, as I said to you, they are in fact addicts, cocaine addicts. They do not know, they're crazy, and their minds are warped because they smoke this cocaine. During May 1998, Muhammad Atif, bin Laden's second-in-command, sent Khalid al-Fawaz, Al-Qaeda spokesman, a letter endorsing fatwa issuing by bin Laden and including a declaration by the Ulama Union of Afghanistan calling for jihad against the United States and its allies. During late May 1998, bin Laden issued a statement entitled "The Nuclear Bomb of Islam." This title doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make any kind of sense. The nuclear bomb of peace. So why isn't there a nuclear bomb of peace then? But this is the latter meaning. How can you have a nuclear bomb of peace? You can't have a nuclear bomb of peace. In which he stated that it is duty of Muslims to prepare as much force as possible to attack the enemies of Allah. How can they be enemies of God? Because they believe upon Jesus, they believe upon God, the Christians. So again, this is some other madness of this organization. A stated objective of Al-Qaeda is to unite all Muslims and establish a government. We are already governed by the law of the Quran. Establish a government which follows the rule of the caliphs. To achieve this goal, all Muslims governments viewed as corrupted by Western influence must be overthrown by force. Eventually, Muslim state boundaries will be erased and replaced the unified government under. We are already governed by the Quran. The thief chop his hands off, murder for murder. The adulterer whip him. Organization structure, right? Al-Qaeda has a command and control structure, which includes a Majlis al-Shura, or a consultation council, the cocaine council. The council considers, discussing and approves major policies and actions, including terrorist operations and issuing of fatwas. You can't just have fatwas in your pocket and just issue them now and again. It's a very strict matter. The group has a military committee that considers and approves military matters. It also has a business committee that oversees all Al-Qaeda front businesses and financial matters. A fatwa or religious committee that deliberates religious rulings. Maybe he wants to rule Saudi Arabia then. A media committee that works on printing information, and a travel office. Flipping heck. Now seriously, these are really warped cocaine addict minds, you know. They go like, they live in a game world. They're thinking, no, it's not right. Right, these are different names of Osama bin Laden has been known by, which have no consequence because the fellow is dead. Osama bin Laden was born 57, Saudi Arabia. He was 17th son of 51 children of Mohammed bin Laden. His father was of a Yemeni descent from the village of Al-Ribat. His mother was a Saudi. Mohammed left Al-Ribat 1931, founded Bin Laden Group, a construction company with his brothers. The company became heavily involved in Saudi government contracts. Right. The group built everything from holy mosques in Mecca and Medina to highways and palaces. See, they're all right here, they're fine there, but this fellow seems to have branched off into killing. From the company of Bin Laden family, amassed a fortune estimated at billions of dollars. Right. From an early age, Osama bin Laden was raised as a strict Islamist, a strict peacist. All right then. Due to his ties with Mecca's mosques and the royal family, his father welcomed many pilgrims during the Hajj season. Others visited even after his father died when bin Laden was 13. It is reported that not having a father figure is also quite disrupting for the child. It is reported that Osama bin Laden, receiving a civil engineering or public management degree around 1980 from King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, he had two very distinguished teachers, Abdullah Azam, whom later collaborated with him in Afghanistan, and Muhammad Qutb, a famous Islamic philosopher. While bin Laden was attending the university, the Soviets invaded Afghanistan. Opium again. During the early stages of Mujahideen, holy warrior resistance, bin Laden travelled to Afghanistan and Pakistan to meet with scholars and leaders whom had been guests of his family's house, at his family's house. He began lobbying for the Mujahideen and raised large amounts of money for their cause. After graduation from the university, bin Laden left Saudi Arabia for Afghanistan to join the Mujahideen. Above there it says bin Laden received a civil engineering and public management, then he joined the Mujahideen. Not only did he bring with him fresh recruits, but he also brought construction machinery and large amounts of cash. In 1984, he built a guest house in Peshawar, Pakistan, which would be the first station for new recruits. From his guest house, the MAC was born. The MAC, established by Abdul Azam, would operate from that location and was active in funneling money into the resistance, building tunnels and hospitals, generating media and publications, and drawing support for the Mujahideen around the world, especially in Afghanistan, but also in places like Yemen. The MAC was known to have recruiting offices in Brooklyn, New York, and at the Al-Khifa Refugee Center. Around 1986, Osama decided to chart a separate course from the MAC. He built his own camps and trained his own fighters. Within 2 years, he had 6 camps, one he called Al-Masada, the Lion's Den. Under his command, he ran several successful battles, with help from ex-military advisors from Egypt and Syria, whom brought much-needed experience. He participated in several battles, including the battles of Jalalabad. Around 1988, bin Laden realized that it was necessary to keep documentation of the people whom traveled through his guest house, his camps, and Afghanistan. He wanted to be able to track friends and fellow Mujahideen fighters, as well as to be able to give answers to families with missing loved ones and friends who were out of touch. This network became known as Al-Qaeda, or the base. I don't believe that the word Al-Qaeda means the base. Al-Qaeda is like, it means journal, a leaflet. After the Soviet withdrawal from Afghanistan 1989, he went back to Saudi Arabia. From 89 to 91, Al-Qaeda was headquartered in Peshawar, Pakistan. Before that, they weren't there. Do you understand what I say? Peshawar was Peshawar when they weren't there. Then they came there like rebels, rogues, and like infiltrated this area. Before it's quite peaceful. The Afghan war, however, did not end with the Soviet departure. The rebels' hostilities continued initially against the Moscow-backed government And then between opposing factions, the Taliban and the Ahmad Shah Massoud group, a car bomb killed Azam and his two sons in Peshawar, Pakistan on 24th November 89, and Mac suffered a major blow. During the same period in Saudi Arabia, bin Laden gave many public speeches about the Afghan victory, the failures of the Saudi government, and an impending Iraqi invasion. The Saudi government became concerned by his activities and placed a travel ban on him. Now, this is the first step the Saudi government took, which is a very good idea to, being as part of the Ummah. Some rebel is out there, and he's going to war with people. It would have been a good idea to just imprison him them days, but it didn't happen that way. After the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, bin Laden was distraught that the Saudi government had sought and received Western government's help. Consequently, bin Laden met with several religious leaders and began to round up recruits. The Saudi government then attempted to stop his activities. Yes, because it didn't show signs of Islam. It didn't show signs of peace. Okay, thank you very much for listening. We'll continue later about this mad, corrupt, cocaine addict people.